They never told us the truth. They taught us to chase, to crawl, to compromise, to beg the world to give us what we already had the power to create. They trained us like animals, to react, to obey, to settle. But here's the reality they hid behind curtains of comfort and conformity. Energy is everything, and most people walk around dead, breathing but lifeless, waking up but never rising, existing, not living, not realizing their entire reality. Every failure, every toxic cycle, every so-called curse is an echo of their own frequency. What is frequency? It's the silent broadcast of your soul. It's what your thoughts, emotions, and habits send out into the ether. And like a mirror forged in energy, the universe reflects back whatever you're broadcasting, without mercy, without judgment, without exception. You don't get what you want. You don't even get what you wish for. You get what you are. And who you are is determined by the vibration you maintain when no one's watching. So if you're tired of being broke, tired of being hurt, tired of being ignored, you don't need another job. You don't need another lover. You don't need another prayer you won't act on. You need a new frequency. Let's be real. Most people vibrate at desperation. They think in fear. They speak in complaints. They live in regret. And then they ask, why me? As if life is unfair. As if they weren't the ones magnetizing misery with every thought they entertained. So what do? You stop playing the victim and start becoming the architect. You rip out the programming, the trauma, the guilt, the generational curses, and you rebuild yourself with intention, frequency by frequency, choice by choice, like a warrior reforging their armor in the fire. Lesson 1. Thoughts are antennas. Your mind is not a playground. It's a broadcast tower, and every thought you allow to pass through it sends a signal to the universe, a request, a declaration, or a surrender. And here's the brutal truth. Most people live their entire lives transmitting weakness. They think in fear. They imagine betrayal. They replay failure. And they wonder why life keeps delivering pain wrapped in different disguises. But it's not magic. It's math. It's physics. It's frequency. Every thought you allow into your mind is like a code being uploaded into the simulation of your reality. And the more emotional charge you give it, the faster that code executes. You keep thinking, I'm not enough. And life will serve you scenario after scenario to prove you right. You think, nothing ever works out for me. And the universe, like an obedient machine, will echo it back with surgical precision. Because the world is not personal, it's responsive. And the quality of your life is a reflection of the quality of your thoughts. So understand this. You are never neutral. You are never not creating. You are either consciously constructing a life of power or unconsciously perpetuating a life of chaos. Every thought is a choice. Every belief is a seed. And most people are growing weeds, then crying about the garden. Let's go deeper. The average human has around 60,000 thoughts per day. Now ask yourself, how many of yours are laced with doubt, shame, fear, resentment? How many are echoes of trauma? How many are borrowed from society, from parents, from failures that no longer define who you are? Because here's the punch to the gut. Your mind is programmable, and it has been programmed by repetition, by emotion, by whatever you focused on during your most vulnerable moments. And most of that programming was not your choice. But today, you make a new choice. You become the coder. You seize the system. You take back the reins from the autopilot voice inside you that's been whispering lies in your own tone. You start watching your thoughts like a sniper on a rooftop. You observe. You track. And you eliminate anything that weakens your signal. No more mindless thoughts. No more inner dialogue that leaves you disarmed. No more imagining what could go wrong, then praying for something to go right. From now on, every thought must pass this test. Is this building my kingdom or feeding my destruction? You speak to yourself like a king, like a conqueror, like the architect of a world not yet built, but destined to rise. You say, I am ready. I am powerful. I am becoming the version of myself that no longer tolerates weakness. You don't wait until you feel it, because feeling is a result of repetition. At first, it will feel like a lie, but that's only because you've been living under a mental regime of lies for years. You've been brainwashed by failure, trained by trauma, shaped by scarcity. But this is your awakening. An awakening hurts. It burns. Because you have to rip away the veil of illusion that says your thoughts don't matter. You have to take responsibility for the frequency you've been transmitting every second of your life. And then, you replace the infection with intention. You sit down. You write down the new thoughts. You record them. You say them. You play them on loop. You stare into the mirror with fire in your eyes. And you speak power into your reflection until it starts to believe you. Because your brain doesn't care if it's true. It only cares if it's repeated. So repeat power. Repeat purpose. Repeat unstoppable. Repeat it when you're tired. Repeat it when you're doubting. Repeat it when the voices tell you it's pointless. Because repetition rewires reality. Your thoughts are antennas. And now, you're taking back the frequency. Not just to survive, but to build. The mind is your battlefield. And today, you win. Lesson 2. Emotions are fuel. You've been lied to again. They told you to suppress your emotions. They said toughen up meant silence. They said be strong meant numbness. But they never told you the truth. That your emotions are not weakness. They are fuel, raw, untamed, explosive, capable of destroying you or rebuilding you into something legendary. Because here's the truth. The system doesn't want you to understand. Emotion is energy in motion, and that energy doesn't disappear. It either transforms your reality or it contaminates it. But it never stays idle. Let me break this down. You've felt it before. That moment your blood starts to boil. The heat of anger rising from your gut to your throat. Or the weight of sadness pulling your chest into the floor. Or the high of joy that makes you feel like the future just opened its gates. Those aren't just feelings. Those are forces. And most people don't know what to do with them. So they drown them in food, in alcohol, in distraction, in lies. And in doing so, they waste the most powerful energy source they've ever had. You don't numb your emotions. You use them, like fire in the veins, like thunder in the chest, like lightning channeled through the spine. Think of it like this. If thoughts are the antenna, emotions are the amplifier. You can think a thought, and it might flutter like a whisper through the air. But attach it to a powerful emotion. Now it becomes a frequency bomb, a command to the universe with a force behind it that cannot be ignored. That's why trauma loops are so dangerous. Because the thought of what happened isn't just stored, it's charged. And every time you replay it, you inject more emotional energy into it, carving deeper trenches in your brain and in your life. You think you're remembering, but you're actually reliving. And by reliving, you re-attract. You magnetize more experiences that match the pain, the betrayal, the abandonment, and the cycle continues. But flip that same law, and you become unstoppable. You want change? Then stop waiting to feel better. Start training your emotions, not just positive thinking, but emotionally charged creation. You wake up every day and generate the emotions that match your vision. You don't wait for something good to happen. You become the reason it does. You want wealth? Then you feel the gratitude as if it's already yours. You want love? Then you radiate self-worth and joy until it spills out of you. You want power? Then stand like a warrior who knows the war is already won. Because the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what your frequency feels like. This is why warriors master emotional control, not by denying emotions, but by channeling them. Rage? Aim it. Grief? Let it cleanse you. Fear? Let it sharpen you. Joy? Let it elevate you. Love? Let it magnetize everything you were born to receive, but never be ruled by them. Emotions are fuel, not the driver. Because if you don't control your emotional energy, it controls you. It leaks into your choices. It sabotages your patterns. It poisons your vision. You have to become the alchemist, the one who turns sorrow into strategy, pain into power, wounds into weapons. You don't just feel emotions, you forge them through breath, through visualization, through movement, through repetition. You learn to generate any emotional state at will, not as a mask, but as a weaponized alignment with your future self. Because that version of you, the one who's wealthy, powerful, respected, unstoppable, they already feel different. So start matching their emotional state now, not later. Now that's how timelines collapse. That's how manifestation speeds up. That's how the storm bends around you and opens a clear path forward. No more leaking emotional energy on distractions. No more tantrums that drain your power. No more pretending your mood doesn't matter. It does. It's everything. This world is rigged in favor of the emotionally disciplined, because they are the only ones who can see clearly through chaos. They are the only ones who act with precision under fire. They are the only ones who transmit such a clean frequency that the universe responds like a soldier to a general. So from now on, don't suppress your emotions. Don't deny them. Train them. Use them. And when you feel that fire rising in your chest, don't put it out. Direct it. Because emotions are not here to break you. They are here to awaken you. Lesson 3. Repetition creates reality. If thoughts are the antenna and emotions are the fuel, then repetition is the engine, the machine that carves your destiny with ruthless consistency. Let's break this illusion now. Your life is not shaped by what you occasionally do, not by the motivation that hits once a month, not by the one speech that gave you chills, but by what you repeatedly think, feel, say, and do when no one is watching. The cold truth: repetition doesn't care what's true or false. It only cares what's consistent. And what you repeat becomes law to your subconscious. It becomes automatic, unquestioned, a default setting in your mental operating system. This is how the masses get programmed. Not by dramatic trauma, but by subtle loops. Thoughts on loop, emotions on loop, habits on loop, until the prison becomes invisible, because the prisoner has decorated the cage. Let me make it visual for you. Imagine your mind like a field of mud. And every time you think a thought, you roll a heavy wagon wheel through that field. The more you think it, the deeper that groove becomes, until eventually, the wheel no longer needs to be pushed. It just slides along the track. No effort, no resistance, no awareness. That's how most people live, riding the same mental ruts for years, decades, lifetimes. I always mess things up. No one ever stays. Money is hard to get. I'm not good enough. They don't even realize these are not truths. They're just habits. Deep grooves in the mind, running automatically. And then they wonder why change feels impossible. Because the wheel always finds its way back into the old track. But what if you force it off course? What if you grip that wheel with every ounce of will you've got and start carving a new rut? I create value. I am powerful. I attract wealth with precision. I do not chase. I command. At first it feels unnatural, like walking through thick mud, uphill, blindfolded. Your old self will scream. Your nervous system will reject it. The world around you won't change immediately. But you push anyway, because the mind doesn't believe what's true. It believes what's familiar. And repetition makes anything familiar. Even power, even success, even greatness. You want to know the real secret of the elite? They train their patterns. They don't just hope for discipline. They install it, like software, through rituals, through structure, through deliberate loops of excellence. So you wake up every day and you say your affirmations, not because they're magic, but because they're rewiring the code. You visualize your future, not because it's fantasy, but because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. And it begins to prepare your body, your habits, your perception, to match what it expects to see. You set up your environment like a fortress, because the more you surround yourself with triggers that reinforce your higher path, the faster the old ruts fade. You do this work even when it's boring, especially when it's boring, because you know that boredom is not a signal to stop. It's proof that the groove is being cut. And here's the dark part. This works in reverse, too. Repeat weakness. You become weak. Repeat chaos. You become chaos. Repeat mediocrity, and mediocrity becomes your destiny. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. And design is built through repetition. One choice, 1,000 times, until it no longer feels like discipline. It just is. So how do you begin? Start with one powerful thought, one behavior, one ritual. Then repeat, and repeat, and repeat, until it's embedded so deep in your nervous system that not even a storm can shake it. This is how warriors are built. Not through emotion, through pattern, not through hype, through habit. The sword you sharpen every day will one day be the weapon that carves your kingdom. And those who fall, they didn't fall because they were weak. They fell because they were inconsistent, because their grooves were dug by comfort, not intention. And comfort is a silent killer, disguised as peace. So ask yourself right now, what thoughts have you been repeating? What energy have you been looping? What identity are you rehearsing every day in silence? Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you practice. Repetition creates reality. That's not an opinion. It's a law. So repeat victory. Repeat dominance. repeat vision, until reality has no choice but to kneel before the force of your consistency. Lesson 4. Your environment echoes your frequency. Let's get something straight. You are not just a product of your choices. You are a product of your environment. And your environment is either your ally or your assassin. You can do all the inner work, read the books, say the affirmations, visualize your goals. But if you're surrounded by chaos, distraction, weakness, and noise, it will pull you back down like gravity with no mercy. Because energy is contagious, and your environment is the amplifier. Take a hard look around you. Your home, your workspace, your car, your phone screen, your friend group, your conversations, your daily inputs. They are all either reinforcing your elevation or seducing you into regression. And here's the dark truth most won't say out loud. If your surroundings are low vibration, it's because you have tolerated it. That mess in your room, that's a mirror of your mind. That clutter on your desk, that's chaos in your focus. Those people in your life who constantly whine, gossip, and complain, they are tuning forks dragging you back into their frequency. You can't build a cathedral in a swamp. You can't evolve in a war zone of noise. And you damn sure can't become powerful if you live in a temple of weakness. So what's the answer? You become ruthless with your space, with your time, with your circle, with what you allow into your field. You clean, not because it looks good, because cleanliness is order, and order is power. You declutter because every object holds energy. And if your surroundings are filled with reminders of your old self, you're anchoring the very frequency you're trying to escape. You design your environment like a battleground for excellence. Everything you see should remind you of who you are becoming. Quotes, visions, cleanliness, strength. This isn't aesthetic. This is strategy. You put your phone on Do Not Disturb. You remove the apps that drain you. You stop waking up to dopamine traps. You start your day in silence, clarity, presence. You create rituals that trigger mental elevation. And most importantly, you audit your circle. Because the people around you are your environment. They are walking frequencies. And if they vibrate at fear, laziness, bitterness, or gossip, that's the frequency that will become familiar to you. Even if you resist it, even if you try to outwork it, your energy adapts to your atmosphere, always. Even the strongest among us have fallen because they stayed too long in the wrong rooms. So you start asking the hard questions. Who makes me sharper? Who drains my power? Who would clap if I failed because it would make them feel better about their mediocrity? If the answer makes your stomach turn, you already know what needs to be done. No, it won't be easy. But that's what separates the few from the many. Most will keep toxic ties because they're afraid of loneliness. But the warrior understands. Loneliness is a temporary discomfort. Tolerating poison is a lifelong sentence. And when you clean your environment, a strange thing begins to happen. You change. Your thoughts become clearer. Your body moves with more discipline. Your goals become non-negotiable. Because there's nothing in your atmosphere contradicting your identity. You no longer feel pulled in two directions. One hand building, and the other hand tolerating destruction. You are aligned, laser-focused, unshakable. People will notice. They'll say, "You've changed." And you'll say, "Damn right I have." Because every level of growth requires a new vibration. And that vibration demands a matching space. Want to rise? Create a fortress. Physically, mentally, spiritually. Want to stay broke, confused, bitter? Stay in rooms filled with people who celebrate mediocrity and escape accountability. You are either building an empire or letting weeds take over the foundation. So clean the space, cut the ties, organize your altar, light the fire, and make your entire environment scream. A warrior lives here. A king is building something unstoppable. Because once your environment matches your frequency, the world outside begins to fall into place. Not because it got easier, but because you stopped tolerating what was dragging you down. Lesson 5. Aligned action charges the field. You've tuned your thoughts. You've weaponized your emotions. You've repeated your mantras and rewired your mind. You've even purged your environment like a warrior sharpening his blade. But there's one more step. The step that separates the dreamers from the conquerors. Action. But not just action. Aligned action. The kind that bends reality. The kind that charges the field with a vibration so specific, the universe has no choice but to respond. Let me be clear. Motion without direction is just chaos in disguise. You can run 100 miles in the wrong direction and end up further from your destiny. You can grind 18 hours a day and still be broke, empty, and lost. The world is full of people who confuse movement with progress because they never stop to align their energy with their intention. But when your thoughts, emotions, environment, and vision are aligned, and then you move, that's not hustle. That's creation. That's warfare. That's commanding the elements. Here's the secret the elite understand. Every step you take while aligned with your higher self becomes exponential. It carries weight. It ripples through timelines. It accelerates destiny. Because the field responds to frequency, but it obeys action. The right action. Action born from clarity, not desperation. Action that mirrors the energy of your future self, not the anxiety of your current self. So ask yourself, are you acting from fear or from power? Are you chasing validation or embodying purpose? Are you trying to escape your current life or build the next one? Most people never move forward because they want permission. They wait for the perfect moment, for the stars to align, for the fear to fade. But the warrior knows. Action is the ritual that unlocks the next level. The moment you step, even trembling, even doubting, you create a pulse, a current, an energetic message to the universe. I'm no longer available for stagnation, and the universe listens. Because the field rewards risk. It favors the bold. It accelerates momentum. But here's where it gets dangerous. If you act out of alignment, if your actions contradict your thoughts, if your thoughts betray your emotions, if your energy is broadcasting chaos, you can hustle yourself into the ground, and all you'll manifest is more confusion, more setbacks, more doors slammed in your face. Because action that isn't aligned becomes sabotage disguised as effort. So what is aligned action? It's choosing to act like the person you intend to become. Now, not someday, not after you heal, not when it's convenient. You move like you're already him. You speak like you already run the empire. You invest like the wealth is inevitable. You train like the battle is tomorrow. You speak your truth without dilution. You build systems instead of chasing emotions. You don't just post a quote. You live it. You don't just write a goal. You embody it. Because reality doesn't bend to what you want. It bends to what you are. And every small act becomes a prayer. Every repetition a ritual. Every disciplined morning a war cry. Every move, no matter how small, stacks against entropy, against chaos, against fate. Because aligned action is not about volume, it's about precision. You don't need 10,000 scattered steps. You need 10 that are pointed like arrows, launched with belief, wrapped in emotional conviction, and reinforced with consistent follow-through. That's how worlds change. That's how legacies are carved into stone. That's how one man becomes a movement. But let's be honest, you won't feel ready. Aligned action often feels terrifying because it pulls you into unfamiliar dimensions, because it forces you to shed old skins, old patterns, old comfort. It demands obedience to vision over emotion, commitment over comfort, destiny over doubt. That's why few do it. They stay stuck in motion, spinning their wheels, confusing exhaustion for progress. But not you. If you're still here, still breathing this in, still absorbing this frequency, then this message was tailored for you, to awaken the dormant giant, to snap you out of hesitation, to remind you that motion is not enough. Only aligned action transforms the battlefield. So what do you do now? You get clear. You simplify. You pick one target and you aim like your life depends on it. Because it does. You act like a soldier sent from the future to shift the present. And you move. You move without asking for permission. You move when no one claps. You move when your legs are shaking. You move when it hurts. Because movement is life. And aligned movement is transformation. This is how worlds are built. Thought sets the direction. Emotion charges the atmosphere. Repetition builds momentum. Environment supports the rhythm. But action is the lightning bolt that strikes the field and ignites destiny. So take that step. Make that call. Launch the thing. Cut the tie. Speak the truth. Write the plan. Live like the future is already here. Because in a very real way, it is. And it's waiting for you to match its energy. No more hesitation. No more delay. No more lies. Aligned action is the ritual that commands the impossible. So step forward like you were born for this. Because you were. To the returning GrimFace warriors. You already know what this is. This isn't just a video. It's not content. It's a code. A lifeline for those of us who've walked through fire and chose to keep walking. You keep showing up. You keep evolving. You keep rising. Silently. Ruthlessly. Relentlessly. And for that, we salute you. Your consistency is the heartbeat of this movement. Your energy fuels the fire we use to light the way for those still crawling through the dark. You are proof that warriors don't fold. They forge. And to those just finding us, you didn't land here by accident. No, you were called. Because something inside you refuses to stay asleep. You've felt the pull. You've heard the whisper. That hunger. That edge. That part of you that won't accept mediocrity. Welcome. You found your people. This is the movement where the black sheep become lions. Where discipline replaces distraction. Where purpose crushes comfort. Where warriors build empires in silence. If this message sparked something in you, subscribe. Join the GrimFace movement. We don't do fluff. We don't do trends. We don't do excuses. We do truth. We do honor. We do war. Against weakness, against mediocrity, against anything that tries to keep us small. Big things are coming, and we're only getting started. Love, honor, respect, GrimFace.